and now patient may complain with discharge, which may be purulent or blood stain. Okay, so if we these are clinical symptomatology of patient presenting with prolapse. Now, how will you examine and see the patient of a prolapse? First of all, we will inspect for any erosion, ulceration, or any other lesion like keratinization may be there, and of the vagina as well as cervix. And you should quantify whether the extent of the prolapse in first degree, second degree, third degree, or the prosidentia, or it may you should quantify using POPQ system. You have to do local examination, upper speculum examination, and per vaginal and bimanual examination. Then for stress urinary incontinence, you may have stress urinary incontinence if there is anterior, there is problem with urethrovesical junction. Then you have to assess the stress urinary incontinence in terms of bony stress test. Here you apply pressure with your two fingers, examining finger over on the both side of the urethra, and see whether after applying pressure and ask the patient to cough. Okay, and if there is no leakage of urine after you apply pressure with your fingers, and um, then it tells you that okay, she is having defect in the periurethral region, in the region of bladder neck, and your operation will become successful. And how do you assess stress urinary incontinence? That if you ask the patient to lie full bladder, and you ask her to cough, if there is evident leakage of urine, then patient is having stress urinary incontinence. And bony stress test, where you apply pressure on the periurethral region with your two fingers, and is basically to assess the when you if you apply if you treat this stress urinary incontinence surgically, whether it will be effective or not. This is the test to assess this thing, whether your surgery will be successful or not, basically. Okay, then you have to assess the tone of the pelvic muscles. You have to do rectovaginal examination, and the position for examination for a patient with prolapse may be standing, straining, or dorsal lithotomy position. May have to change the position of the patient to assess the degree and severity and various other associated like stress urinary incontinence. You have to change the position of the patient and examine both full bladder as well as empty bladder. Okay, so this is details of examination you need not know. Now, what are the complications of the prolapse? Prolapse, long-standing prolapse can have many complications, like patient may have keratinization of the vagina, the vaginal skin, and it is lying outside. After some time, it get melanin cells, and it looks like the our skin only, normal skin. Or patient may have, because of chronic venous congestion, because it is the most dependent part, she may commonly have decubitus ulceration. This ulceration occurs because of the venous stasis. Like you must have read in the surgery, the venous ulcers, they occur in the on the legs because of chronic congestion, commonly in the COPD patient. Same way, in the case of prolapse, there is the vagina and the cervix, which is the part which is prolapsing down, the most dependent portion, it gets sloughed off because of chronic venous congestion only. Okay, and the cervix may get hypertrophy because of chronic cervicitis, and then obstructed in the case of prosidentia, especially the uretral kinking. You remember the course of the ureter, they pass from the lateral valley wall into the cardinal ligament and then enter the trigone of the bladder. Okay, so when the cervix is coming down, it is coming to the level that it is come out of the vagina, out of the introitus, it is lying outside. That is, I am talking of prosidentia here. Then there can be kinking, so severe kinking of the bilateral ureters that can lead to hydroureter and hydronephrosis. So this is known that if the patient is having prosidentia, you always have to see the condition of the ureters, because she may have associated hydroureter or hydro and the kidney hydronephrosis. Then patient can have recurrent urinary tract infection, which can lead to renal failure. Okay, and sometimes there is incarceration of prolapse also. Okay, these are the complications: keratinization of vagina, decubitus. Most commonly, there is decubitus ulceration, hypertrophy of the cervix, and in case of severe degree of prolapse, like in Prosidentia, she may have hydroureter hydronephrosis because of severe kinking of the ureters, or she may have recurrent urinary tract infection or renal failure or incarceration of prolapse. Now, what about the management? How will you manage if the patient comes with prolapse? It can be preventive management. We will discuss definitive management in the next class. Today I will discuss how can we prevent the occurrence of prolapse. Okay, the management will depend upon what is the age patient is presenting, and whether she has completed her family or not, whether she wants to retain her uterus or not, and whether what is the age she is presenting. Okay, so we will discuss today only preventive measures. Now I told you what prevention can happen only if we know what causes prolapse. If you have to prevent that, and the first thing I told you, the obstetric trauma. And then second word was basically the increase, the condition leading to increase in abdominal pressure, and third was the loss of estrogen support because of menopause. So our prevention strategy will depend upon the factors leading to causation of prolapse. The first thing was obstetric trauma. So what should be done during labor and delivery so as to prevent prolapse later on in life? Now, during labor and puparium, patient should be told to avoid premature bearing down efforts. So, in the first stage of labor, from the onset of labor till full dilatation, patient should be again and again told that premature bearing down till the cervix is not fully dilated, it should be avoided. And long second stage, that is after dilatation of cervix till delivery of baby, it should be avoided. Um, for occurrence of prolapse, and all the tears and incisions which you have given, like episiotomy incision if it is large episiotomy, or any vaginal tear which is there during delivery, they should be repaired accurately in layers with delayed absorbable sutures, and do not avoid taking delivery. And patient should be encouraged to do pelvic floor exercises after delivery. These are very very important. The Kegels exercises, the Kegels exercises should be told to each and every women who have given birth, vaginal birth. Avoid purpural constipation, decreasing bearing down. If there is, even if there is constipation in the puparium period, the pregnancy and puparium, the constipation is a common complaint because of the increased level of progesterone hormone. They are progesterone, it causes relaxation of all the smooth muscles. So there is a problem of constipation during pregnancy as well as puparium. This should be avoided, and even if it is happened, then the patient should not bear down during constipation. So these are the factors which can be done during labor and puparium to avoid occurrence of prolapse later on in life. Avoid premature bearing down, avoid second stage, repair of the tears and incision accurately with delayed absorbable suture, and the placenta should never be pulled, and patient should be encouraged the pelvic floor exercises, the Kegels exercises post delivery, and avoid purpural constipation and should not bear down. Then, what can be done during hysterectomy for prevention of vault prolapse? Always, when you are doing hysterectomy, the vaginal vault should be suspended with uterosacral or the cardinal ligaments. Okay, even if you are doing total abdominal route, abdominal hysterectomy, maybe laparoscopic or open procedure, or you are doing vaginal hysterectomy, the vault of the vagina should be suspended with the inherent support of the uterus, that is the uterosacral ligament and the cardinal ligament. And if there is enterocele before hysterectomy, the deep, which is seen as deep cul-de-sac, then it should be obliterated during the any abdominal procedure. Okay, and if there is patient, if you are doing hysterectomy for some patient who have inherent collagen disorder, the uterus or the vagina remain, the wall should be suspended with the sacral bone posteriorly using sacropexy procedure with the artificial mesh. Okay, and there is in the postmenopausal phase, if you have done surgical menopause after doing hysterectomy, patient should be and encouraged for estrogen replacement therapy. That will also prevent early occurrence of prolapse. Okay, so wall suspension during hysterectomy should be done. And now, what is the conservative treatment? Okay, conservative treatment means using a ring pessary. What are the indications of using ring pessary? Why, when the patient is, why, when do you think the patient should be given ring pessary as a treatment for prolapse and not a surgical procedure, definitive procedure like surgery? Okay, this is the ring pessary. It is reserved for patient with slight degree of prolapse in young patient. Okay, and you want to postpone the operation, or patient does not want surgery now. In slight degree of prolapse in young patient, the operation should be postponed until the woman has had sufficient and then again patient conceives and then giving birth to the children, your surgery may fail. So in a slight degree of prolapse in young patient, any surgery prolapse should be postponed until the patient has sufficient number of children, because it may reoccur after surgery. Then prolapse of uterus in early pregnancy. The ring pessary is suggested for a patient who have pregnancy. Okay, we can't do surgery on a pregnant patient. So pessary should be worn until the end of fourth month, until the size of uterus is sufficient to prevent its descent. Once the uterus is enlarged with the pregnancy and the baby, it will go inside the abdomen and the prolapse will itself reposit. Okay, till the fourth month, the pessary should be advised. Or patient has contraindication to operation, such as patient is breastfeeding, or she has severe cough, or she is refusing any surgical repair herself, she doesn't want any surgery, then she may be advised to have wear a ring pessary to avoid that problem. Or patient has bad surgical risk, such is very old patient with advanced diabetes or severe hypertension. Okay, she may be high risk for anesthesia. Then in that case also, patient needs to wear. It is advised to wear a ring pessary. So, so in these cases, you will advise the patient to have a pessary inserted in a slight degree of prolapse in young patient who have not completed her family, or patient is having pregnancy with the prolapse, or patient is having any contraindication to operation, like she's having COPD or she's breastfeeding, okay, and she's refusing surgical repair, or patient is at high risk for anesthesia with advanced diabetes or severe hypertension. These are indications for using ring pessary. These are the pessaries for which can be worn as a treatment for prolapse. If you see in this diagram, if insert, these are different types of pessary shown. The pessary is inserted in between the pubic symphysis. It can be there should be bone in between two. So this posteriorly there is sacral promontory, and anteriorly there is pubic symphysis. The pessary is worn in between these two bones, and it will prevent the uterus from descending down into the vagina. Now, what are the complications of pessary patient? Because in this diagram, you may see the posterior end, it is pressing onto the rectum. So, if it is not adequate in size, it is tight fitting pessary, it can lead to various complications like constipation, or patient may have urinary incontinence. Uh, because it is loosely fitting anteriorly, she may have recurrent infection, because ultimately the pessary is a foreign body inside the vagina and lead to cervicitis, vaginitis, or because of chronic irritation, it can lead to vaginal cancer, or patient tight fitting pessary can lead to impaction of pessary and strangulation of the prolapse tissue. Okay, because of patient can later on can have vesicovaginal fistula also because of desloughing if it is a large size pessary. Okay, so these are the complications of pessary. Now, if there is decubitus ulcer with prolapse, the ulcer has to be treated before the patient land up into the ulcer has to be treated before the taking the patient for surgery. Now, how will you treat a patient of decubitus ulcer with prolapse? So, uh, I told you the etiology of prolapse, decubitus ulcer in prolapse is venous congestion. And this congestion, why it is happening? Because it is the most dependent part. It is descending down inside the vagina. So you have to treat that congestion part to as a treatment for management of decubitus ulcer. So how will you relieve that congestion? By repositing the prolapse part, that is the vagina and the uterus, using with the help of tampon or a pessary inside. Okay, so we do packing of the vagina, which will again deposit the prolapse part inside the vagina, and it will heal the ulcer automatically. There is no need for any antibiotic because the cause of ulcer was venous congestion. You have relieved the congestion by giving her packing the vagina and using a pessary. Okay, then hygroscopic agents like acreflavin glycerin can be again applied to the cervix, the prolapse part, and then you do packing of the vagina. Okay, so this is how you treat the decubitus ulcer. Apply the hygroscopic agent and then pack the vagina for some time. Obviously, this pack has to be changed daily. Patient is advised to change the pack daily and then again apply the pack, and it has to be kept inside for 24 hours maximum. Okay, and change daily for next 10 to 15 days. This thing only will cure her decubitus ulcer. Now, operative surgery we will discuss in the next class. So today, what we have read, one is how do you define prolapse? Now, what are the supports of uterus and the cervix and the vagina? There are three levels of support. If we, and then what are the risk factors which leads to occurrence of prolapse? Now, classification of prolapse: first degree, second degree, third degree, and the procedentia and POPQ system. There are two different classifications. And then the other thing, what is the symptomatology of the prolapse? What are the complications of prolapse? And what are the preventive measures which can be taken for occurrence of prolapse? That's all for today. Read this